Everything else. Or you play on the right side too. Or should you go down your bird carrying actually to play with. Wait to see what Mason does for us.
And we've been following the ins and outs and the draft picks and the players that have been associated with the Wings over the past few years, then obviously you know who Sebastian Cossa is. Red Wings prospect goalie, Grand Rapids Griffins primary goalie, And a guy who, okay, maybe I shouldn't say primary goal. He actually isn't anymore, unfortunately. Because right now, if you take a look at the Grand Rapids Griffins and what they've been doing in the AHL playoffs, all the games have been played so far by Miguel Ostava, who's posted up a 9.43 save percentage in those 5 playoff games. Make no mistake about it, Ostava's been doing really well. He's 24 years old. Sebastian Jose, on the other hand, is 23, and he is not the starter. I'm not using this video as a means to mean what Sebastian Jose has been or the story, but the fact is, this is a guy that was taken as the very first goaltender in the 2021 draft in a controversial decision that a lot of people were debating ever since the pick was made. Because in 2021, not only did you have Sebastian Jose go 15th overall to the Red Wings, but just 5 picks later you had Jesper Wallstedt go 20th overall to Minnesota. Wallstedt, this year, took over the crease as the starter for Minnie in their playoff run, which was unfortunately short-lived. And Kosa is now taking a backseat in the American Hockey League to Ostava, with Trey Augustine also in the mix for the Detroit Red Wings, and John Gibson doing what he is doing right now as the team's starter. It really starts becoming difficult to assess where Kosa's spot is long-term with this team. If everybody works out in the ways that they could, and especially right now with Michael Ostava as the top guy. With that said, Frank Saravalli went out there and said this, that Sebastian Kosa is going to be on the move. The question is where, and what is his upside? Yeah, leave it to Frank Saravalli to leave no room for interpretation here. He's as blunt as can be. Kosa will get traded. Top Apply says, trusting Frank on anything Red Wings is stupid. Not trusting, Red Wings prospect said, just quoting. And this quote has had a number of Red Wings fans go out there with their own opinions as to what a fair trade looks like, what players could be heading over to Detroit, what assets could be tossed in there. Kosa for Wyatt Johnston and Logan Stankoven. Okay, we are not going to think about that because that is exactly what happened in 2021. Maybe traded, but don't bite on the hype. He said Kosa was behind Augustine, and everyone with eyes and knowledge of the situation in Pipeline knows that Kosa is temporarily behind Ostava, not Trey. Trey is like the black ace in this run. He misspoke or knows nothing of the current situation. This would be a huge mistake, so it's probably going to happen, the Wingnut 79 said. Sad the Wings can't get this thing figured out. Going to be another 46 years till we get another sniff at the cup. Bummer. Now we have some trade ideas. Could Vancouver's first pick in the second round or Calgary's late first be optimistic for Kosa? And I'll just say this right here. If you're trading Sebastian Kosa for Vancouver's first pick in the second round, which would be 33rd overall, that would be such a terrible downgrade. Just think about it. Kosa was a 15th overall prospect back in the day. I say back in the day, like it wasn't just 5 years ago. But Kosa was taken above some really good players. Zachary Goldnuke is right here. Wyatt Johnston is right here. You have Olin Zellweger, Josh Doan, Logan Stankoven a little bit later on. If you take a 15th overall draft selection that was, quite frankly, not the best pick that you could have made, either from a positional standpoint because Wallstedt is better, or from a general standpoint because any one of these dudes, and Bolduc or Wyatt Johnson would have been a lot better. If you take that guy and you give up on him when he's 23 years old, and you say, oh, we'll just take a 33rd overall pick in a trade for him, you are losing value. And that's one of these things that I don't really know if Steve Eisenman is keen on doing, despite the fact that he has literally done value-losing trades in the past. Thank you for your service, Jake Wallman. But with that said, the Kosa situation has definitely garnered some attention, and the question as to whether or not Michael Postava is going to permanently be that guy ahead of Kosa on the depth chart is all of a sudden an option. Cam Talbot's not going to come back. So there's a backup position open behind John Gibson for next season that we probably are going to see filled by one of the guys that is in the organization already. Postava is older. He is signed on until the end of 2027. He came over to Detroit despite the fact that he had a number of teams clamoring after him because of the success he had with HC Kometa-Verno in the Czech League, both in the regular season and especially in the championship playoffs that he had. 940 save percentage in 17 games. This guy steps it up when the games get important. He was able to post up those numbers and win the championship in that season, and now in the AHL, 1 year later, he's got a 9.43 save percentage in 5 games. He had a 9.37 in the regular season, which was better than Sebastian Kosa's 9.15. Kosa also had some time with the Wings in the organization called up. Postava did as well, but Michael Postava is the new shiny toy that is technically a year older, but also just as good, if not better. So, if you wanted to project one of these guys, whether it's a...
The commodities around the world. The beautiful game is coming to our beautiful country. All the people want to come 2026 $1 coin today.
I'm going to need some assistance, because I don't know if this claim is 100% valid. But we're going to make a video about it anyway, because there's a really great story.
Fuck off, you Torben Rudy! I really fucking trade you now.
The Stanley Cup playoffs. Right now, at the time of recording this audio, 3 out of the final 4 teams in the conference finals have been confirmed.
Yeah, I may have to trade him now. He is hurt. He's not helping my offense.
Carolina Hurricanes, who swept both the Senators and the Flyers, will play the winner of Buffalo versus Montreal. A series which currently sees the Canadiens with a 3-2 lead. Now, let's just hypothesize here.
Okay. Vancouver wants it. Really?
I said that the Buffalo Sabres would beat Montreal in 7. That was my prediction. Obviously, I'm a Canadiens fan, so I would hope that the Habs end up winning out. But the Montreal Canadiens already defeated the Tampa Bay Lightning in their playoff run. And they currently have a lead on the Buffalo Sabres in the second round. Should they advance, they would be playing off against Carolina in the third round. And should they defeat Carolina in the third round, they would be playing one of Colorado or Vegas. I think most people would probably say Colorado has got this one in the bag. They're unstoppable. No matter how good Carter Hart and John Tortorella have been, and no matter how good Mitch Marner is, I do think Colorado has this Western Conference Finals matchup. With that said, there was a post made on the R-Hab sub that I wanted to go out there and read with all this context in mind. Corey Wall said, if the Montreal Canadiens
I have to add something.
The toughest road there in NHL history, the Montreal Canadiens would have had to have beaten the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Buffalo Sabres, the Carolina Hurricanes, and then we assume the Colorado Avalanche. Which means, as the number 6 overall team in the league, the Habs would have had to have beaten 5, 4, 2, and 1. So in the hypothetical reality where that happens, could this be the toughest cup to earn of all time? Obviously not getting ahead of myself, but it's nice to dream. And while it's true, you can very well say that the Caesar is getting ahead of themselves. this is just the reality of what we have to deal with here. The Montreal Canadiens already defeated Tampa Bay. Buffalo, they have a lead. And then if they defeat Buffalo, they'll be playing off against Carolina in the Final Four. This is a very realistic possibility, and even if you head over to MoneyPuck.com, the Montreal Canadiens have pretty good odds right now towards making the third round. They've got a 74% chance of doing so. They have a 29.3% chance of making the finals. And then they have an 11.8% chance of winning the Stanley Cup. Now, 11.8, that's not a great odd in general, but when you consider the fact that it's 11.8 out of a hypothetical 4 remaining teams, it obviously becomes a little bit easier to stomach. I mean, Final Four, that's already pretty good territory, is it not?
Big Bang, hey Tom, you rip my voucher. That means, no matter what, it's time to lock in.
What's the base credit?
She'll be a guinea pig. Alright, you're welcome. What's victory sound like? 1, 2, 3. Yeah!
And when you take a look at the NHL standings, this point that was made by Corey Lowell on the subreddit is very true. Tampa Bay was better than Montreal this season by tiebreaker, but they both had 106 points, so obviously two powerhouses squaring off in the first round. Buffalo was also better than Montreal in the regular season. They had 3 more points than the Habs with 109. If Montreal wins against Buffalo, they'll play off against Carolina, who had 113 points this season. And then if the Montreal Canadiens defeat them and projectably play off against Colorado, the Habs are the President's Trophy winning team with 121 points. Meanwhile, you talk about Vegas and Anaheim. Well, Vegas, they have 95 points this season. 13th overall in the league. Of course, we acknowledge, though, that they got a pretty big coaching bump under John Tortorella. Everything started to come together for the Vegas Golden Knights at the end of the season, which is why they finished off the year 7-0-3, despite having a total of 95 points. The Anaheim Ducks, on the other hand, were 18th in the National Hockey League with 92 points. This does volumes to speak about the parity or lack thereof in the NHL, where a team like the Washington Capitals with 95 points, that was 12th overall in the league, did not end up qualifying for the playoffs. They had 5 more points than the LA Kings, who ended up getting into the first round against Colorado, and to be fair, they got absolutely destroyed. But ultimately, this sets the stage for Montreal to potentially play off against teams number 5, 4, 2, and 1 if everything goes according to plan. And I say according to plan because, hey, if Vegas goes out there and legitimately beats Colorado, that would be an upset. Like, that would be crazy. The 13th overall team defeating the first-ranked team, it would be almost as crazy as those 8-seed tales of the LA Kings back in the day. I mean, the Kings were 13th overall. They were the 8th seed in the West. They ended up defeating Vancouver and then making themselves a run all the way to the finals, and then they won the gosh darn thing. It would be the total opposite here with Montreal, because it's like, oh, they're 6th overall in the league. How difficult is their run going to be? Oh, well, they've got 5, 2, 1, and 4. Like, it is such a disparity when you think about how the points and how the wins have been distributed throughout these teams. Let's go out there and read some of the comments on this Reddit post. No, it wouldn't be the most difficult road to win the cup because they didn't have to beat the Montreal Canadiens. Haha, okay. Monster Walrus says, yeah, I'd definitely be up there, but I don't see how any team beats Colorado in a 7-game series without some sort of serious injury. Hey man, if LA won the cup in 2012, there is such thing as just getting hot at the right time. I wouldn't bet on it, but as long as we were in the dance, we're never at 0%. I will say, I don't want to make it seem like the Montreal Canadiens have just been getting hot, quote unquote, because getting hot would imply momentum. And I don't think the Montreal Canadiens had much momentum in that Tampa Bay series, for example. They lost every game after they won. They were not able to string together 2 wins, high-scoring games in general. Montreal is building momentum here, and if they're able to sustain it on Saturday and win the gosh darn thing, then I'd say that that's probably the biggest momentum surge they've had all the playoff series. But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Buffalo ended up coming out with the victory in game number 6, to force a game 7, and to make things interesting heading into next week. But when you think about momentum, I think the LA Kings, that same example from 2012, they just got super hot at the right time, and it went perfectly, really, for them. Winning the Stanley.
You are willing to do not for themselves, but for others. They have to see this out, and they figure I would like swimming quicker to talk about their lives now.
So I wanted to focus on a very particular part of the Vancouver Canucks and this entire management shifting that we have seen. Yes, it's true. The Sedins and GM Ryan Johnson spoke to the media through various capacities. They had their press conference, Ryan Johnson was on the radio. There's a lot that we can dissect and analyze when it comes to their vision for the Vancouver Canucks and what the plan seems to be.